indeed.
Okay, I'm gonna do one of these. That was a little too close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, welcome back to another edition here of this thing that we do.
Right.
Music is an ongoing phenomenon in life, it appears, and as such, we have new music to review. We were gonna do a different episode, but then I started listening to this album, and I was like, "Yeah, we could do this one. There's some content there."
Right.
Send it to you, and you were like, "Yeah, I kind of like this Kane guy, so like let's dig into it."
Yeah.
So we've got the new Kane Brown album. We've listened to it. The High Road, I believe, is the name of the album. And it's been a few years since we heard from Kane Brown. Dropped some singles here and there. Not like he's really disappeared, but been a while since we had a proper full-length project from him.
Right.
And he returns with the attempt to be open, honest, vulnerable, if you will. Not a unfamiliar direction for albums in the 2020s. It feels like I don't know what made everybody be like, it's 2020. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, they made a group chat.
Yeah,
All the
artists, everybody.
They're all in the group chat.
Yeah,
We're being vulnerable. That's the theme this decade.
right. And so, that's the album.
Yeah.
The end.
Done.
But yeah, as I said, you mentioned that you're a fan.
Yeah.
I would say, of Kane Brown. Walk me through this fandom. How did you get to where you are?
So it's funny because I just looked up like what I have downloaded. Like,
Sure.
Because I've heard a little bit of Kane Brown.
Yeah.
Are you a fan if you only like enjoy like 4 of his songs?
If you like him,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I'm
Sure.
borderline fan.
Yeah. You like some of the Kane Brown,
Right.
Yeah.
Some of it's good.
Yeah. Sure.
This is the first
Full
album
Yeah.
that I've heard.
Okay.
Whoop-de-doo. He's cool for a pop country artist, which nothing wrong with that. Not knocking him for that. Nothing like that. There's nothing crazy when it comes to like lyricism, and I don't expect that. There's not, at least from what I've heard, I haven't heard much from like deep rooted country. It's always been this more like fun or like these lighthearted instrumentals, and then the lyrics kind of follow along. And then going into this album, kind of expected just about the same, from what I've heard before. And that's exactly what I found for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
nothing crazy.
Yeah, to share my perspective on him as an artist, he's an artist for me that I've always appreciated the way he approaches songwriting, him and his team, because I know he works with a few writers, as a lot of artists do, and the way they approach songwriting and storytelling, I really appreciate a lot of the ways they do that. And I'll agree with you from a pop country perspective. In a world where there's a lot of really bad pop country, he generally does a fair job at that. One thing I will say about Kane Brown, and we'll get into more of the specifics of this album here, is to me his weaknesses and strengths throughout his career are greatly amplified on this project. And that's as much as I'll say before I go into specifics on the album. But we kind of talked a little bit about the instrumentals, definitely like a pop country feel. No exception here going into this project. There's clear country elements, and then there's a lot of very clear pop elements infused with that as well.
Yeah.
A little bit of R&B and hip-hop style as well. One thing I appreciate from Kane Brown is... for some reason, pop country artists love to just throw 808s and hip-hop drums on anything they can. And, not even, a little bit here and there. No, it's like a Fabio Foreign song, like just to the max drill drums on this like mellow country track, and it's like, okay, we can tone those down a little bit. One thing I've always appreciated is that he does that pretty well. He doesn't really overuse that area, and so I do appreciate that again on this album here. A lot of these instrumentals are very good in my eye. On this album, there's a lot of songs that as I'm listening to them, I definitely see that there's an arena pop, arena rock, country feel to them, where I was like, if I was at a live show and he performed this with this instrumental, I would, see how that gets the crowd really engaged and energized. So I really liked that. I thought there were some really cool instrumental moments, a lot of cool like fiddle work, guitar work, even the drums at different points are pretty solid. So definitely appreciated a lot of it, but there's other aspects that production-wise are just like utter abysmal garbage and like some of the worst song production I've heard this year.
Wow.
A lot of times well, not a lot. There's a few times where it just absolutely falls flat on its face in my view.
Yeah.
So I gave production a 6 because of that.
So I'm right there with you. Gave it a 6. I agree with just about everything you said. I do like the implications of fiddle work, guitars. I like the direction on some of the songs, especially the ones where he has features on. I think it just amplifies those songs for the most part. But then I'd say like half of it, like solid, like I can dig it. But then the other half, not that I don't agree or I do agree with what you said, but like I just kind of zoned out after a while, production wise. Like nothing really caught my ear. I didn't see it as like, oh, this is some solid work here, or like, oh, this is garbage. No, it just straight up tuned out whatever the beat was and moved along with my life. Yeah. So I gave it a 6.
Fair enough. Overall, like I think we both agree there's some solid moments there. Vocally, I feel like he's a unique vocal talent in the country scene today. If you want to call him a pure country artist, I definitely would put him under the umbrella of country artists. Talk to us about his vocals a little bit. How do you feel about it on this project?
On this project and just in general, I like Kane Brown and his vocals. It's one of the things that kind of drew me into his music. And so like, once again, I feel like what he did with the features, I think are some of his brightest highlights on this album. Not saying that his solo songs were really bad or anything like that. Sure. I feel like all the way through he's very consistent. I don't really feel that there was a bad time where I was like, I don't know about that one. He stayed in his range, didn't really test any limits or anything like that, but I can appreciate that at least he's consistent and the consistency is good. So I gave vocals a 7.
Okay. I mean, maybe we should just have you review the whole thing, because I also gave it a 7 here. The reason it's not any higher for me, I do think he has a good voice. I think he's got, like I said, a unique voice. I think he's very solid in terms of his vocal talent and range and his ability to do a lot of diverse things in terms of genre. But I did feel like on this project specifically, as opposed to some of his previous works, there was a lot of very safe vocal performances where he wasn't really trying to do a whole lot. And whether he's trying to let the lyrics speak or whether he's just playing it safe, whatever it may be, definitely noticeable to me. But I will say when he does that kind of mellow vocal flow and pocket in terms of his range, I don't think it's necessarily a bad sound. I think he's pretty good at it. But like you were saying with production, I'll echo that for this style of vocals, where it gets to the point where there's moments where it's like it makes the album feel like it's dragging out a lot longer because it's very similar, and I don't want to say monotone, but it's very mellow, even if you're talking pretty good tracks like Haunted, where
Right.
it really, like, the instrumental and Jelly Roll and the lyrics kind of carry that song, because Kane Brown's vocal range is more or less fluctuating within the same few note ranges.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's not bad. It is pretty solid, so I did give it a 7. Lyrically, I will say, again, I've always appreciated Kane Brown's storytelling. I think songs like Homesick, and I think the song's called like I Love Country Music, or I Love Country Music. Anyways, whatever that song's name is, there's a few solid ones, storytelling wise, throughout his career. And I do feel like that reflects further into this album. I read an interview where he said he really felt like he got to slow down with this album and really pay attention to the writing process. It's definitely noticeable at moments. And the vulnerability is very cool. The storytelling is very cool when he's talking about things like his lucky number 3, where that's like what he picked when he was like playing on sports teams growing up. And then he kind of sees how that number's reflected through other areas of his life, whether that's him growing up in a single parent household and having a brother, or whether that's him now having 3 other people in his family to rely on him. Very cool storytelling ideas and concepts in that regard. But there's some other moments that are just not good. The most glaring, awful example of this in recent memory was on G-Eazy's album Freak Show, where artists are like, let me be super, vulnerable in this one random spot, and then just be horrible in other regards.
Next.
Kane Brown's not that bad on this project, not even close. But there's moments where it's like, okay, we're real vulnerable, we're, having a hard time, we are, going through something, and then it's like, hey, you want to hear some innuendos about a truck? And it's like, not really. Yeah. It's a 6.
Okay. That's funny. So this was actually, I'm definitely higher.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8, just because that is the other aspect of Kane that drew me in, was the storytelling. Yeah. Songs like, what is it called? Backseat Driver.
Yeah.
I did not pay attention to 3 at all, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But that sounds super cool.
Yeah.
For the most part, like even in his career, like the songs that I do genuinely enjoy from him, songs like Heaven and What Ifs.
Yeah.
I love an artist who can paint a really good picture, can take you step by step, like if you were holding their hand and walking through that exact moment with them.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not like he does that throughout the entirety of the album, but when he does it and he does it that well, I can appreciate that and see, like, I'll take the higher highs over the lower lows, so I put it a little bit higher.
Fair enough. I can see where you're coming from with that. Moving with a little bit of a lateral step here in some regard, talking about the concept, I won't make you go first on this one because I know you're not the biggest into the concepts and themes. I do feel like a pretty big theme here is kind of what we've discussed so far, just approaching the album perspective as almost like this is where I'm at right now in my life. And these are the ups and downs, like just kind of bearing it all out there to some extent, in talking about ups and downs, strengths and weaknesses, all that good stuff. I have a lot of the same things to say about the songwriting or the lyrical content as I do about the concept and theme here, because while I do feel like it's a pretty cool theme, I think he tackles it pretty well. I remember reading about like in the album description when he's talking about the song Haunted that's doing really well right now. During the writing process, he was like, said that things were getting pretty dark with how he was writing the song, and the writers in the room and the producers were like, okay, that's a little too dark. And he's like, but is it though? Like, this is honesty. This is how I'm feeling. And to have that vulnerability and honesty come out what feels like full-fledged on that track and other tracks on the album, and be doing so well in terms of like the reception that they're getting from people, because they're pretty relatable feelings and songs, I think it's pretty cool. I do appreciate that aspect of the concept. I've seen, I mean, we've all seen this concept approached much more interestingly, much more in depth and fully thought out. And then it's very clearly interspersed by tracks that are just like, oh, yeah, this one has a lot of good radio appeal, so like let's just sneak that in there. We got to throw a party song in there. Yeah. We got to, do this, that, and the other that doesn't really have anything to do with the concept because it's going to sell well kind of thing. Which is unfortunate. It does knock it down quite a few pegs for me, down to a 6 on the theme here, but overall there is some cool moments, and so I did enjoy some of it.
Yeah, I like how much more in depth you are when we do these, because like I don't do notes, I don't read into like whatever. I tried it once, I think it was for Post Malone's album.
Yeah,
and then like I almost fell asleep, so I had to stop doing that. So with the concept, hearing that, like, super cool, like,
sure.
And I can always appreciate things like that. I gave it a 6, mainly because I have heard way better albums from multiple different artists, and like we said, this has been the theme, it feels like, for the last 3-4 years now.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of getting fatigued, and that's not their fault in the slightest. But when that is
but
the
on the same hand, it's like, or on the other hand, it's like, but do something original,
right? Yeah,
approach it from an original perspective if you want to do that.
Yeah, so that's why it's a 6 for me. It's just not the best that I've heard, but it's definitely not the worst.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with you.
Because I forgot Freak Show.
Well, I don't think that album was even about that, but
who knows? It might be.
Moving into the feature content on the album, a lot of cool artists making appearances. We talked about Jelly Roll. His wife makes an appearance on a couple tracks. Khalid is on there as well. I think we get a Brad Paisley feature at one point, which is pretty cool. Lots of good artists. Overall, I gave this one a 7 because as I was listening, I was pleasantly surprised with what I heard. You can call them safe features if you want, because a lot of them have a lot of complementary styles to him. Would it be cool to hear him do something with someone really country like a Lainey Wilson or something like that? Yeah, absolutely. But, overall, like, I don't have a whole lot of negative things to say about the feature list. I do feel like a lot of the tracks he approached solo are best approached as a solo artist. I don't think in terms of his talent he really needs a whole lot of feature presence to help carry tracks. So I did enjoy it, but like I did think there was room for, like, if you were to name a handful of features that I'd be like, yeah, that'd be super cool to have on there. So
yeah, I agree with the solo portion. He takes it as he needs to head on by himself.
Yeah.
I think the amount of features is like a cool spot. Like, it's a cool amount of people that joined him for this album. Like, if you would have got like, I'd say like one more is like a cool limit, but like you kept it like what I think is a perfect amount of features. I don't know why I didn't think this. I didn't realize that was his wife. Yeah. That was on the album. Killed it.
Yeah,
she's
phenomenal. A great vocalist, yeah.
For the most part, loved everybody. The only one that I didn't really like, and maybe I just tuned out or like wasn't really paying attention, but the only one that I didn't really like hear was Khalid. Everybody else, like, it felt like they made their presence known. They had great energy.
Yeah.
This, that, and the third. I gave it an 8 because I did really enjoy when the features were on, and I didn't feel any bad side to his solo stuff. But I agree, like, if you were to go a little bit more, if you want to say experimental or just a little bit out of your comfort zone, it would have made it a little cooler. But I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, definitely agree with everything you said there. To kind of round things off, talking about the overall enjoyment, replay value of this project. For me, Kane Brown is an interesting artist, and I kind of said this a little bit at the beginning, but to say it more clearly, I think the weaknesses of his career are really shown. The strengths and weaknesses are really shown very clearly on this album, maybe more so than they've been before. When he does things that are thoughtful, well written, produced well, when it comes to making decent arena country rock pop sounds, I think he does it at his best. I think he does it as good as anybody else that's doing it right now. But at its worst, it's like, I don't want to say it's like unlistenable, but like it gets pretty bad at times where it's like he's just trying so hard, it sounds like, to be radio friendly or like to make a radio sounding song when he doesn't need to is the problem. Like, it's one thing if you're an artist that, like, you know, if JPEG Mafia comes out and like tries to do something a little more melodic to get on the radio, it's like, okay, like I'm not going to appreciate that nearly as much as his you know, true work, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But like I can understand why someone like him might need to do that because it's so unradio friendly on the opposite spectrum. But Kane Brown doesn't need to do that. You have tracks from him that, top to bottom, any one of these songs, if they're, you know, catchy enough, can be on the radio. It's not like he lacks that style or sound in any fashion on any track that he's on. So for him to like try so hard over the top, it just like comes across as a little bit annoying. It comes across as just like a little bit of a, like, just a push for attention and streaming numbers and popularity, when they don't even really sound good to me. Yeah, I kind of prefer the Burger King Whopper jingle over some of them. But yeah, there's decent stuff on the album. Overall, there's just too many songs that I'm not ever going to listen to again that are just not very memorable to me. So I did give it a 5. Pretty harsh, but you know, it's how I felt.
That's valid. A little wild with the whole Burger King Whopper. I thought it was cool. Like, it was a cool listen. I listened through twice.
Yeah.
There was just too many times where I zoned out.
Yeah.
And not because I was like doing anything important. Like, I was just chilling in my room. But
yeah,
that's kind of how I know it's not
engaging.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like it.
Sure.
If I'm going to listen to a song, I want there to be some sort of pull to where I'm like paying attention to something. And there were too many tracks where I just didn't.
You want it to be the opposite, where like when you were playing 2K listening to Jelly Roll, you're getting distracted from the 2K playing because you're like, holy crap, Jelly Roll's doing something here.
Yeah. No, or even then, like, I hoop even more because I'm hearing this. I'm getting
You're
hyped.
getting all motivated.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, Kane did not do that for the most part.
Sure.
It's cool. Like, if you were to just play the album top to bottom in the background, like, I'm not gonna. I couldn't tell you skip a song just because I don't even remember half of them. But like, I don't know. I gave it a 6.
Sure.
It is what it is. There's a couple songs where I was like, okay, like this.
It's cool.
This is cool. This is cool
for sure. What'd the album come out to overall for you?
It's a 6.8.
Okay, I'm a little lower. 6.2 for me. I probably round it down to a 6. I feel like I sounded very harsh on the album, but I do want to emphasize that I actually really did like the things that I liked on the album, to the point where I've been listening to them a lot since it came out. But when that's, to me, 5 or 6 tracks out of, 20 or whatever that he put out there, that's like a 1/4 success.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving into the last little section here. It's been out for just a little bit now. But were you able to pick out best, worst, and most underrated tracks?
Yeah. So best, I'm gonna say, is Haunted.
Got the Jelly Roll thing.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that is my guy of lately. Except there was I don't remember which song it was, but it was awful. And he was on it. And he
It was
awful.
the Yellow Wolf one.
Oh, yeah, it was. That was Trailer Parks in the Sky or something like awful song. Oh, my gosh, that was abysmal.
Shout out to Yellow Wolf.
No, shout down to Yellow Wolf. Awful. And I didn't realize how popular it was until I just barely saw that it was his number one song on his catalog.
Yeah.
What's funny though is, like, I agree with what you were saying earlier. It's more because Jelly Roll and the instrumental are carrying.
Yeah, and I would also say the writing too. I
Right,
think the writing's
100%.
good. Yeah.
I just, everything is so energizing. Everybody brings some kind of energy, and then, like you were saying, like Kane's just kind of like monotone.
Waking up in cold sweats, California king bed.
Yeah.
I'm on it. Like, that's the whole performance from him, it feels like.
And if it was like a little bit, like if it started like that, but then started like picking up and like.
Or even like, I wouldn't even mind if a full verse is that way, and then you pick up the intensity when you go into that chorus, because that's such a high energy chorus in terms of the instrumental and the writing.
Yeah. So, nonetheless, it's still a super cool song.
It's good.
Underrated, I did Body Talk, with his wife. I don't even remember if it was that one or if it was the other one with her. It's either Body Talk or Things We Quit. Oh.
That wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
I'll have to listen to both of them to verify. Yeah. I just knew it was, like, one of the underrated ones for me was one that she was on. Yeah. Mainly because I really like her vocals.
Yeah, she sounds good. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
So I'll have to go back and verify. So worst, I didn't have, like, a solidified worst. Because, like I said, tuned out probably a good like half of it. Sure. So I just kind of threw one in there. And then once you started talking about it, I felt really bad about putting it at my worst. But I didn't know what else to do. So I put 3. But once you started like explaining like what it meant, I was like, oh, that's not really
what I will say is sound-wise, in terms of like just replay value, if you're just talking about the sonic value. Yeah. It is a little on the bland side, so I you know.
That's really all I heard because I didn't really listen to the lyrics. Yeah. The story part's cool. Yeah. I can give credit at the story part, but sure. Yeah. So there we go.
Fair enough. Yeah. Let me get into these here. Let's start off with the positives. I did enjoy Haunted, ultimately because of Kane's vocal performance. I do feel like it's getting a little bit overhyped in terms of how good it is. But I did like it, but I wanted to shout out a couple others more specifically. I thought Rescue with Khalid was really, really cool. I think their vocal chemistry goes really well together. We saw that on that track they did with Sway Lee back in the day, Be Like That. Yeah, that one's vocal talent-wise and chemistry-wise, I think they're both very good. I really like the approach to the songwriting of that song as well. It does the whole like mellow thing very well, and I did appreciate that it was one of the more thoughtful, vulnerable songs on the album. So I like that. Most underrated for me, I went with the track When You Forget, which was the closer on the album, I believe. And very, very primarily because of the songwriting on this one, which he wrote for his grandpa who has Alzheimer's. And, you know, Alzheimer's, you know, and this one I will say has a fairly personal connection for me. Alzheimer's is a disease that has affected members of my family pretty heavily, and so in hearing him approach it in the way that he did, in talking about kind of helping them remember the most important things about their life, I thought was really cool. I really appreciated the way it was given, because it's kind of a hard and sucky thing to see someone that you have so much love and admiration for forgetting what you feel like these super meaningful and formative moments were for you. Yeah. To feel like they, you know, can't remember that kind of stuff is challenging. So I really, really appreciated the way he approached the songwriting, and the storytelling really resonated with me on that one. So, you know, I can definitely see that not being like a favorite pick for a lot of people. I can see why it's not like a top streaming one, you know, It doesn't really have that appeal. But for the people that do resonate with that, I think it resonates really, really well. So, I went with that one. Moving into this last one here. The worst song. It might be the worst song I've heard in like multiple months.
Oh, no.
It's so bad. Whoever thought to put Marshmello and Kane Brown together needs to rethink some things. It sounds so bad. Marshmello sounds so awful on the production in producing a pop country style track. It's just annoying. It's ridiculous. When we're making sexual innuendos about a truck, that's weird to me. That makes me cringe. Especially following, like, I think it's the third or fourth track on the album, right after we've gotten him talking on the opener about...
It's right after Backseat Driver, so about his daughter.
Is it the fourth song on the album? So we get the opener where he talks about all of his fears and his insecurities and stuff. Like, we're like, shoot, he's really going vulnerable here. We get the second one that's like, I feel like I'm pigeonholed into a genre. I'm struggling to feel like I can make the music I want. Like, that one's cool in and of itself. It does the arena rock really cool. Backseat Driver, we're like talking about family life. And then it's like, let's put some miles on it. Let's, have this weird romanticizing of a truck. I didn't like it at all. How it's his second most popular song is beyond me.
It's because it's Marshmello.
Yeah, but the thing is I actually kind of like Marshmello, not nearly as much as like some people do, but I think he does diverse production in cool ways. Like, to hear him do something electronic, you're like, cool, he's another electronic DJ, but then he'll throw something together with Migos that's got a crazy trap sound to it, and it's not just like this electronic garbage trap. It's like it actually kind of solid trap production.
Yeah.
It's mainstream. It's mainstream. Yeah, in the Juice WRLD. Like, it's mainstream, it's pop, but it's like, it's not like he's just throwing Migos on an electronic instrumental. So, that was a little bit weird. I also felt like his performance wasn't that good on it vocally. If you like that song, maybe time to rethink some things. But that's all I have to say. To end on another high note, because we brought it up, I also really liked Fiddle in the Band. I don't know if I mentioned that. That like arena rock sound with the country flair was really, really cool to me. Yeah. I liked the approach to the songwriting and being, feeling like he isn't given enough credit for being able to do everything that he's able to do. So I did like that.
Yeah. Like, if I had to choose a different like underrated one, just because I'm not 100% sure, it would be Backseat Driver.
Yeah,
he's talking about his daughter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the innocence that she has, and like wishing that he could be as like thoughtful and like imaginative and all these kinds of things. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, cheers. And as of putting this episode out, as of recording this episode, word on the street is we get a new album from The Weeknd tonight.
Oh, let's go.
So we'll see where that goes.
I'm actually hyped. I'm hyped for this album.
That's crazy.
I know.
So
ever since I've been legit. That's a really good song.
Yeah, it is. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, new album or new episode on that one coming out Wednesday, assuming it actually drops. So
yeah.
Wait, did I just say Wednesday?
Yeah, you did.
Don't know why I said Wednesday.
I don't know either.
Maybe Monday, maybe Wednesday. We'll see when we get around to it.
Yeah, basically. Okay. I won't be outrageous for this episode. I don't want to.